Warning. The following content contains extreme spoilers of the movie Sinners. If you have not seen it in the last month for some reason, the last 6 months that it's been out, it's been on streaming platforms for about a month now. If you have not made time to see it and you decide to engage in this episode of my podcast, please note it will be spoiled for you. If you're okay with that, please continue. If not, bye. If you've seen the movie, my Are we over Sinners yet? Because I'm not. I will watch this film over and over and over again and catch a different thing every single time. And I think that the beauty of that is amazing. Ryan Coogler did an amazing job. I feel like Michael B. Jordan did an amazing job. Haley Steinfeld, amazing job. Like all of the actors, the one that played Annie, I forgot her name. I'm so sorry. Shout out to her because I feel like she was actually one of the most integral parts of the film. Like I actually feel like all of the characters that he focused on played such an integral part in telling the story. It was just overall such a beautiful film to the point where like I don't even mind the fact that it's like 2.5 hours long. Like for all those people who are like, oh, it's just a horror movie. Like, why are you guys making it seem like da 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 da? Black horror spirituality films are equally as valid as any other type of film out there. Like y'all like these jump scare bullshit ass horror movies. I like my horror movies doused in historical accuracy, beautiful picturesque nature, and psychological twist. And I feel like Sinners kind of gave me all of that. First of all, historically accurate down boots. Like I really enjoyed the historical accuracy of it all. I really enjoyed the fact that we enter in the movie getting the perspective of a young Black man who was a sharecropper in 1932 in the South. Just starting the movie the way it did, and also not portraying the whole sharecropper like vibe of it all. Like I feel like oftentimes like when people make like Black spirituality scary movies, like we have to see like Black people being tortured like in that kind of like slave dynamic. And I feel like there's so many other parts of that whole conversation about Black spirituality and how it interacts with whiteness. I feel like there were a lot of other points to be made, and I feel like Ryan Coogler kind of brought a lot of those points up. Black spirituality is a subsection of horror that's arguably the best because it's often very camp and cunty while being historically accurate and keeping us close to our roots. Sinners is not the first time that we've seen like a Black vampire step in style. I'm looking at you, Blackula. Blackula, I believe, was one of the first, if not the first, Black vampire film, and everything about it is just like low-key, cunty, and even though it has the horror aspects to it, it still showcased Black people in a way that shows off our overall creativity and the things that I feel like make Black people beautiful. That it also helps translate into the modern African American experience of the youth. Because we start off the movie and we're going to tackle like Sammy and my kind of whole thing about Sammy. We're going to kind of tackle that first. But like I said, this is a showing of a young Black person attempting to find his way in the world. And we can see beginning, he is sheltered. He's sharecropping. He likely does not leave the plantation often. As we can see, he yearns for that. We see from the scenes in the beginning with his father, where his father is, he goes, he picks his cotton early, he meets his quota early. He's like, yeah, I'm about to go run off on my badass cousins. And we see his father be like, why would you want to do that when you could be here in the church? And I feel like that's often a pressure that a lot of, not even just African American kids, but kids in general have to assimilate to the religion that is provided to them through their family. And that is one of the highlight. I feel like everybody in the movie they have a story to tell about the different dynamics that we see in the African American community and how our community interacts with other communities. And I kind of broke my analysis down based off characters instead of chronologically because of the messages that they each like portray, in my opinion. And we see with Sammy him trying to balance between what his father wants and what he wants. So he meets his quota. He makes sure that he gets his work done. But he's like, dude, like, Pop, I've been here all week. Can I leave for one day? Like, please? His relationship with his father is another thing that pushes him towards Pearline because of his father's opinion on the environment that he believes that Sammy is in. And Pearline represents that. She was a singer. She is beautiful. Let's start with that. She's sexy. She's kind of scandalous because she has a husband and she still wants to be around Preacher Boy Sandy. So there's a lot of layers to her as well that we obviously know that his father would not approve of. I think that that is quite literally a part of like that dichotomy of between like what he was growing up with and what he craves is kind of exactly what leads into like a lot of the decision making that he makes across the movie. So now I'm about to kind of like take a break on Mr. Preacher Boy Sammy because I'm going to kind of go chronologically, but slightly deep diving into each character as I go. Sammy has now got picked up by his badass cousins. You know what I'm saying? We see Sammy quite literally have to take his freedom by taking his guitar and walking out to go be with his cousins. We see his cousins who his father does not necessarily approve of because of the rumors surrounding it. Like, long story short, if you don't know, they killed their dad, or Smoke killed their father. So we're now introduced to the Smokestack twins. Off the rippers, I can see so many differences between them just in the body language that Michael B. Jordan is displaying. Like, it really is giving Michael B. Jordan, Michael C. Jordan, like, they're birds of a feather, but completely different. I feel like from the very beginning, like, we kind of get the vibe, like, even when they're interacting with the Klansmen, we get the vibe of Smoke being, like, Stack gives me very, like, sly. He's very sly. He's very, like, risky. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of a hothead. You know what I'm saying? Smoke kind of gives me more, he's about his business. You know what I'm saying? He is going to be this way or this way. We see in the scene where he's teaching the young girl how to negotiate. That really kind of like said something to me because I feel like Stack would not have done that. I don't think that Stack would have done that. I feel like Stack would have been like, you know, you want to take this 10 cent or whatever. Like, and Smoke being the one that's a little bit more responsible, the one that's a little bit more tethered to the origins. You know what I'm saying? He is a little bit more tethered like to the world. He's a little bit more, Stack is a little bit all about himself. Smoke kind of gives me, he's doing what he feels like he needs to do, not just for the survival of himself, but also kind of to like leave a legacy. And maybe that's because, like, we come to find out he was almost a father. Yeah, him and Annie had a child that passed away. So that is another reason why that scene of him with the young girl, even though she wasn't like that young, she looks like she's like a teenager. Him showing a young woman how to advocate for herself was beautiful, especially considering they were in Chicago for like 7 years. So that tells me that it's possible for that child, that young girl, to have been around the same age as Smoke and Annie's child. Boom. Like I said, Stack gives me kind of like Daredevil, sly with his words, very charming. You know what I'm saying? Smoke doesn't give me, he tries to use all that charm. Stack, he'll give you a little smile to try and get what he wants. You know what I'm saying? Stack just kind of gives me like con artist, just a little bit. Like, just a little bit. He's willing to like do a little this, do a little that if it's going to end up with that paper. You know what I'm saying? Now I'll introduce you to my opinion on each of their counterparts. We'll start with Annie. Nah. We'll start with Mary. Okay. But they're kind of having a discussion and they're like, yo, like, because the Klansman guy was late to meet up with us, we're running behind. They like, all right, so we gonna split up. Stack and Sammy gonna go together, and then Smoke was gonna take their truck and he's gonna go meet up with the Chows. The Chows are the Asian family, Grace and Bo, and they own two shops like right across the street from each other. That's like a whole thing that I'll get into in a second. But Smoke is gonna go see them. Stack and Sammy are gonna go make some rounds to pick up, the remaining people that they feel like they need to create the juke joint, because that is essentially why they picked up Sammy, because they bought a building from a Klansman with money that they made in Chicago. They came back with some beer and some wine, and they decided that they was going to open them up a juke joint. Now, we get to the train station where we're introduced to Mr. Delta Slim. You know what I'm saying? And, he's like, this boy can play the blues. Like, we meet Mary in a scene where, so we get to a point, I feel like I have to go back and like mention this part, but we get to a point where after Smoke and Stack pick up Sammy, they're kind of having a discussion. My accent, he's like, I got socks older than this here, boy. Sorry, my impressions are kind of going nuts. If you have not seen them, if you haven't seen the movie, like, you might not get it. But like, yeah, he's not impressed with Sammy. But then not until, Sammy really started like playing that thing for him or whatever, he get offered a little bottle of some beer. But that's when we meet Mary. And Mary, a vicious little white ting. She is apparently like 1/8 black. I wouldn't fucking know. The whole point of the story is that she's supposed to be like a white passing mixed woman. But back then, like, the lines were really blurred over like who, like, they had the one drop rule. If you literally had N in your bloodline, you're black. So she is kind of considered colored, but she can obviously navigate the white world. But sassy little white thing. She comes up, yeah, like, I waited for you. Well, I don't know why the fuck you gonna do that. Because you told me you loved me. I also told you to stay the fuck away from me. That was before you stuck your tongue in my cooties and so hard. Like, she was going off. We meet her and she sassy little thing. We see Sammy's confusion with her race. We see how, again, she can kind of like navigate the world as a white woman, and it's kind of whatever. And then that's also where we're introduced to Perlene. I already kind of went into like my whole thing with her, so we're gonna fast forward and I'm gonna talk about Annie for a second. Then we meet Annie. Mind you, both of these women are upset at their twin counterpart because of them leaving to go to Chicago and all that other stuff. Annie is equally as upset as Mary. But we see Smoke pull up, leave a little offering for the baby that he got from the Chows, some little white flowers, which the little girl was also holding the girl that he negotiated with was also holding a white flower. That's a symbol of like innocence. So like, all right, Ryan, like, you ate that little one thing up. Like, we get it. It was supposed to represent the daughter. That was cute. But anyway, we meet Annie, and Annie is just a wave of calm. Like, as soon as she popped up on the screen, like, he goes to lay the flowers and then they pan over and she's like standing in the doorway. She instantly is just like, yeah, even though she mad too. What do you want from Miss Smoke? She was equally as angry, but she was like, you know what I'm saying? You come here alone, you know what I'm saying? She just gave a lot more like forgiving. She gave a lot more, like, she is that man's peace. Okay. Mary wreaks havoc. Annie, that's home for real. So we kind of get to see a little bit into their relationship. And like I said, she hits him with the like, what do you want from me? He wants her to cook catfish at the juke joint so that they have food, they got liquor, da. Annie don't trust where the money came from, of course, because she know her man crooked a little bit, and that's okay. Like, Annie, we all love us a hood nigga. Then we fast forward, they have a scene of them putting everything like together. Oh, boom. Before we get into that part, let me get into the scene. Let's go back to the Chows. We're at the Chows, and you know what I'm saying? Smoke wants a sign made for the juke joint. The mother is at the other store across the street. So we get this beautiful scene of Lisa, the daughter of the Chows, walking across the street, and we can see how the black people disappear as she crosses the street to the other store. And then she goes to the register. She's like, Mama, Daddy wants you. Grace leaves the store again. We see white people all outside one store, and she goes to the other store where there's only black people in front of it. And we can also hear people in the background saying things like, I remember when they used to have their own part of town. Whoa, whoa. The level of racism, like, that's not something that I caught when I watched it in theaters. That wasn't something that I caught until like I bought it on YouTube, and I've watched it like several times since then. That's something that I didn't catch until like maybe watch number 3. I was like, huh? Y'all can't be content that you have your own store and we have to just deal with this store across the street. Mind you, they're owned by the same individuals. Anyway, I digress. We get to the point where everybody's pulling up to the sawmill. I get to see everybody who's going to be participating in like the making of it. We see Delta Slim, we see Cornbread, we see a number of other people that they kind of just like picked up that they know to help out, and all these people were willing to do so because being able to participate in something made for you by you is honestly, especially at that time, such a blessing. Delta Slim was a mentor. He was kind of like an unk symbol in the movie, and he was there to give us a lot of historical context about the type of area and world that they're living in. I also heard that Delroy Lindo actually improvised the one scene of them in the car when he's like telling the story, and then he goes straight into like, like, oh, something about that. It was so raw. It was so emotional. And then Michael B. Jordan's like, don't you got that guitar in your hand, boy? Like, it literally showed how pain can directly translate into art and music just by like all he had was his hands. All he had was his hands and the feelings. And he took those things and put them together and began to make something beautiful with someone that he had just met. And then even going into like a deeper layer of that, because that's what's being portrayed in the movie, but then finding out that it was improv, that kind of is also the same thing that happened between Delroy Lindo and Ryan Coogler. You know what I'm saying? Delroy Lindo is this older, mature person in the industry, and we literally see how he improvised something, and it kind of back like he improvised something, and Ryan Coogler took that and ran with it. And that's basically exactly what happens between Delta Slim and Sammy, Preacher Boy Sammy, at that moment. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And the fact that it's like life imitates art, like that shit. The scene when he is performing I Lied to You. Honestly, that is like one of the best movie scenes I've ever seen in my life. So, like I said, I skipped to the part to talk about Cornbread and Delta Slim for a second, but I did want to go back, like where I was a second ago, of them all building it, and then we see like the joint start. We got Cornbread at the door, we got Delta Slim on the keys. You know what I'm saying? Like it's bumping in this hole. Like it looked like a club in this joint. The juke joint was juke jointing, okay? We had Annie on the catfish. They had the chows there. They was running gambling and shit. So then we get to the part where they decide to introduce Sammy. So it's like a whole big thing. They're like, Delta Slim's like, introduce yourself to the people. He's like, I'm Sammy Moore, aka Preacher Boy Sammy. And he starts singing this song called I Lied to You that is dedicated to his father, about how he basically lies to his dad about the fact that he loves the blues because because his dad's obvious disapproval of the blues. So we then see like the juke joint break out into like just pandemonium in the most overstimulating, but like absolutely amazing way possible. And if you haven't like seen the movie and you don't plan on it and you didn't mind the spoilers, but you want to know what I'm talking about, I literally am going to like link I'm going to link like they have like the audio version on Apple Music and something like that. I'm going to like link like the YouTube audio version, or like I'm going to try and link something because I bet it's copyrighted and I don't mind. But I'll link something so you can see it. It was so overstimulating, but it was so beautiful, and it shows what the part of the entire point of the movie is that Sammy has this ability to essentially connect all of time together, which is real. It exists in the real world. I feel like not a lot of people believe that it exists in the real world, but they, just like they were saying, there are some things that can literally touch all generations, things that will forever be something, and it's tied to the spiritual. It is literally tied to the fiber of our beings, and it's like innate. I don't know if you guys know what a haka is. I used to live in Hawaii. We kind of got into that with the last episode with Isabella. I feel like a haka is a really, really, really good example of that, because no matter if you know like what that is, if you've seen a performance on Instagram or something like that of a haka, it stops you in your tracks because of how like powerful it is. So we essentially see Sammy open a portal where now old tribal music is blending with Sammy's 1930s early days blues, which is also combining with 90s hip hop. And we see the characters of the movie in their plantation, old sawmill vibe, their old timey 1930s vibe. But then we also see the inclusion of African tribal dancers, African American hip hop dancers from the 90s. And then, when they start following Grace around, you know what I'm saying? Miss Grace, who has the pleasure of being able to quite literally navigate between black and white spaces. We also see Chinese dancers, going around her and her man. We hear like a little like they quite literally mix so many genres of music, and it scratches the brain so good. Like, quite honestly, the best part of the movie, I was listening to that shit in my car the other day and I was going absolutely fucking nuts. I'm not even gonna I was like the way that like I just overstimulated myself trying to even like explain, like it just tickles the brain so right. Like I said, I'm gonna link it down below. But then this is when we start. Well, this is not when we're introduced to him. I kind of skipped the introduction of Remick because, like I said, I kind of wanted to talk about each character like at one time, but I feel like this is a good time to bring up Remick. So as we are at overstimulation station with the 90s hip hop mixing with 1930s blues, and for some reason it's hoes twerking in the sawmill. We get like this zoom in shot of our villain of the story, Remick. So Remick is a white man, and we are first introduced to him. He quite literally falls out of the sky, and he just got his ass beat to smither fucking reens. Just got his ass beat to smithereens. Like, it's actually literally smoking. He got a black eye, all that. He pull up to this crib. He knock on the door. He geeking. He like, oh my God. I need help. I need help. They got me. They got me. They coming for me. We see two white people. They come to the door. They're like, who are you? You with them, like, engines? I'm like, bro, we pulling out slurs that I've never even heard of. I'm always shocked when I learn a new slur. When I learned that the word was a slur, do you guys know how bad I felt? I thought it was just like a sexy Middle Eastern woman or something. I don't know. Like, I thought it was kind of like a fairy, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like the Middle Eastern women, they be wearing like the things like kind of like And Aladdin, I don't know. I don't know. But he pull up, they like, you with them Indians? He's like, no. He looks behind, slightly behind them. He's on his knees, he's begging. Ah, please don't kill me. They took my wife. Oh no, they took my wife. Just white man crying on their doorstep. And they like, yeah, we're not trusting him. He see the KKK robe in the back, and then he all of a sudden started hitting them with all types of like racist shit too. Basically, like he was like, the Indians took my wife, and now like they done killed her, and they tagged me. They gon' kill me. You can't let them kill me. I'll give you some gold if you don't let them kill me. He's basically begging on his pussy, and then it's like cutscene, right? The Choctaw people, they pull up. They're like, ma'am, if he's in your house, we need you to tell us. He's very dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Everybody had a Southern accent, even the Native American people, which makes sense, I guess. But like, realistically, I've met a couple of Native American people and none of them have Southern accents. Maybe I have a Southern accent, so I can't really hear it unless it's a thick Southern accent. But I feel like I've never met a Native American person with this. But anyway, if he's in your house, you need to tell us. He's very dangerous, right? And they were like, you get out of here, you Indian. No, it's just the lady at the door now. She like, yeah, nah, you get out of here. Nah. They're like, we warned you. They pray over the house or whatever. Oh, girl's looking at him like, he started praying. She like, what the hell you say up on my home? Because he's like praying in like his native language. She's like, offended. You know how racist you gotta be to be offended by somebody praying for you in their own language? All right, so boom. That's kind of like our introduction to Remy. Then she goes back in the house. She's like, Bird. Bird's her husband. Bird, where you at, Bird? She go in the back of the room. Remy like, oh, he's resting. If you see this movie, I feel like you would know how accurate some of these little accents are, and you would be laughing with me. But she's like, Remy's like, oh, he's resting. This man got blood dripped all down his shirt, just looking nasty. She's like, and then I hated this noise. This noise is getting me the whole movie. And when you watch it with the captions on, when this noise happens, it says squelching. But Bert starts making these noises, and he's like, his bones start cracking. He's like a fucking zombie. And he's like, hey, baby. He's dead ass like, hey, baby. And she literally screams. And it like cuts it there, right? Boom. That was like earlier in the movie. But now connecting it back to where I introduced Remy, we now see that they have metaphysically burnt the house down with this amazing mix of cultural music from all times, right? This absolutely nuts mix, like DJ Khaled would be put to shame mix. They done burnt the sawmill down metaphorically. And Remick looking at Sammy like I need you. I want you and I need you. He's literally drooling at the sight of this man, salivating at his talents. Salivating at his talents, bro. So I guess that's when he decided that he gonna go over there. So now we see them pull up, you know what I'm saying? Cornbread sees them and is immediately like, go get the twins. Go get the twins right now. So whoever he sent to go get the twins goes to get the twins. And they like, it's these crackers at the door. Da-da-da-da. Yeah. All this stuff or whatever. Remick's personality was just like so funny to me because he was just a goofy ass boy. Like, he was just goofy as shit. The twins are now confronted with the fact Are we gonna let the white people in or not? And off the fucking rippers, you can see how Smoke is in absolutely protector mode. And he's like, these crackers ain't coming in. They start playing that little song, that little big boy driving clean. Big boy. Stack literally is sitting there, And then they like, nah, we not letting y'all in. Remix like, oh, it's cause we. How she get in? Now Annie getting mad. Not Mary. Annie, she like, she family. She one of us. This is where they fucked up. Mary has the option and chooses to navigate both the black and white communities. She says she don't want no white man. Cool. But she has a privilege that nobody else in that joint has. And that's exactly why she got singled out. Annie defending her like that, it just gives me like Cookie Monster pajama wearing hoe that lives in like the trailer park. Or like the like not so affluent community. You know what I'm saying? Like the girls that be like, I grew up with black people so I can say nigga. That type vibe. It kind of just gave me that. She's like, she's family, so she gets to be here despite that. And you cannot. Which is, that calls into the conversation of how do we protect black spaces and are white people invited to the cookout? And like, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like we gotta be very selective about the whites we let at the cookout if we're gonna let the whites at the cookout. Anyway, they send him away. But then we were also introduced to the fact that because they're only allowing people who are sharecroppers in, we kind of got like a peek of this with Smoke and Annie's interaction, where Smoke offers her some money and she doesn't want to take it. And he's like, you keep taking this make-believe shit. And we're introduced to the fact that plantation coins are kind of a thing. So like instead of real like money that we're used to today, they would kind of have like, they'd be like, oh, this wood coin is 5 plantation coin and you can trade that in for like supplies, bread, etc. It was like another form of currency. However, it only kind of worked at the plantation that like it comes from. I believe Sammy worked on like the Sunshine Plantation. If he had a plantation coin from his plantation, I don't believe that it would transfer to, for example, like the plantation coins that Annie was getting from another plantation. If that makes sense. But we get introduced to the fact that the juke joint ain't making no money. For real, for real. All the money is in freaking plantation coins, not US dollars. So they getting concerned because they're like, yo, we only gonna be able to do this for possibly 2 months if we keep taking plantation money. So then Stack and Mary get the bright fucking idea, let's go see what them white people are about. And that is exactly the downfall of black spaces will always come from the white bitch in the corner. I swear to God. The white bitch that somebody let in and they had damn sure no business letting them in. No business. Sammy actually was trying to get her ass to leave. She wasn't trying to leave. Stack don't want you here, babe. Well, we come to find out he do. Because that man is so confused. He know he want that white shawty. Annie claims Mary, says that she's one of us. But because of the whole plantation money situation, they are like, hey, we should go see what the white people are about. So Mary takes Stack's gun and goes outside to talk to Remit and Bert. And I forgot what the white bitch name was. And so when she's out there talking to them, you know what I'm saying? They basically start picking up on her vibe and they're like, yeah, like you need family and fellowship and love. Fellowship and love. Like just being weird as fuck. Then he hits her with the, yeah, you need saving. And she's like, oh, you must got me confused. I don't need saving. And he's like, Yeah, you do. Just drooling all down his shit and stuff. Then she's like, oh, y'all need to get the fuck stepping. And the gravest mistake that was made in this entire fucking film, she turns her back on them after telling them to leave and tries to go back into the juke joint. We then see Remick hit her with the yeah and got her ass. She comes back in with these gold coins and she's talking to Stack and she's like, yeah, everything's cool. They gave us money. He's like, what do they want, something to drink for this? She's like, no. Then immediately starts trying to get to the fucking. That should have been suspicious to fucking Stack. Number one, she came back in acting weird as shit. She didn't bring them. She just bought money. She said that they didn't want nothing for it. So what the fuck did they give it to us for? But you know what? He wasn't thinking that deep. You want to know why? Because the coos was in his face. Stack was blinded by the coos, by the snow bunny coos.
If it ain't nappy, I ain't happy. Absolutely no bunny hopping. No ice, no rice, no spice, no sand, no salsa.
She takes that boy in the back room and got the on his shit, okay? Literally fucking murked him, right? Sammy walks in. They look like they was fucking. He like, damn. Mind you, they looking for him because niggas done got sliced in the face and shit. Sammy went to go look for him. Mary was going crazy on top. He like, fuck. Michael B. Jordan as Smoke, Michael C. Jordan or whatever. He's like, I didn't ask you about that. I told you to go get him. He goes to go get him. And that's when we see this bitch done took a chunk out of this nigga neck. And she's like, we gonna kill all of us. Ah. She started running out. Smoke was bah, 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 bah. Put fucking 27, unloaded the clip in her ass. Like crazy unloaded the clip in her ass. She gets to running. This one should start kicking off. They start sending niggas home. They like, nah. At this point, oh, I forgot to like talk about the part that fucking Cornbread left and left Delta Slim at the door. The way they kept coming at Delta Slim for being an alcoholic was funny as shit because even from like the moment that Stack cracked that beer in the train station, he was like, what that? You just knew that this man was a fiend. He was also talking about he drunk up all his money from when they took him and the other dudes on tour. Like the cops was like taking them on tour to perform for white people. He's like, yeah, I drank all the money up, but my friend saved it all up. He was going to be, you drank a church amount of money. If the other dude saved enough for a church, that means you drank enough for a church. I digress. But they was coming at his ass the whole movie. He somehow got left at the door. Cornbread gone. Everybody's like, yeah, we got to get the fuck out of here because like, what the fuck? But of course, for some reason, Pearline nosy fucking frisky ass stay. One thing about her, she can sing though. When she was hitting that, that's what had me in the theaters. I also just love that, like, other than Mary, which I feel like was like important to the story, all of the women were badass dark skinned bitches. Like, oh, sorry, badass dark skinned women. Badass dark skinned women. Like Pearline, bad. Annie, bad. I mean, Grace was bad, but she Asian. Like, it's like even the background women were like bad. I was like, dang, like, did you have to like, you had to be like at least a 7 to be on that set, like on God, like even as a background person, because no way everybody was that damn fine. What's going on? They started kicking everybody out, and this one shit really started getting fucking crazy. Bo and Grace talking, and Bo's like, "Yeah, we gonna leave, cause like this ain't got nothing to do with us. Like we have a family at home," which is crazy because like you loved when we was bringing the money in, but as soon as some shit go left, and this nigga's brother is dead. Now y'all don't give a fuck. All right, cool. Anyway, so Bo also leaves. And, you know, Annie is like, something ain't right. You shot that hoe like 7 times and she ain't. And she ran out of here. We're dealing with something supernatural. And I just love, like, I love everything about the way that she was portrayed in this movie. But I also love the fact that she said, something's going on here. And everybody was like, all right, we're going to listen to her because she thinks something's going on here. Like, never in scary movies do you see people really like listen to the bitch that knows what they're talking about. And like, they really was behind her, like, yeah, you want us to eat a piece of garlic? I'm gonna eat a piece of garlic. Pickle juice? What was that? We need to sharpen some sticks. They was behind Annie all the way. And I feel like I forgot to mention this, but it was so pertinent to the story. She's also a medicine woman, highly spiritual. She is the person who did the introduction where we get introduced to the fact that there are people who can basically open these portals beyond time. And we come to realize that that whole portal opening ability is exactly why Remick wants Sammy. I think I said that part already. This movie is like so good. I'm like, it's like I'm tangling so many parts together, and like I feel like I'm explaining it pretty well. I don't know. So she's a medicine woman or whatever. So she's like, yeah, like, and a herbalist by practice. So it's like, she's like, yeah, like something about this shit ain't right. You shot that bitch too many times for her to have gotten up and high kneed the fuck out of here like that. So they like, we gotta leave the body. Smoke's like, this is not a body. This is my brother. Okay. Fuck. Michael C. Jordan, aka Stack, like gets back up and he's talking to them through the wall. He's like, yeah, like let me out. Like I'm cool. They like, nigga, you just died in my arms. Like you literally just died in my arms. So like you're not all right. He's like, no, I'm cool. Puts on leather vest. And this is where shit really get popping. He ends up like breaking the fuck free by like partial emotional manipulation and partial like physical brute force. And we come to see how he goes to rejoin the rest of the vampires, and we watch a whole bunch of montages of them dancing and stuff like that, doing all types of weird shit. And they're like, yeah, like their whole point is we want you to join us. Like join us because it's more peaceful over here. Like it's better. Like I essentially believe that vampirism was in some way, shape, or form indicative of assimilation, and how if we decide to ignore the reality of what is going on, like if we can't see what happens in the daytime, in the light, then it doesn't exist. And we live under this covert kind of like darkness, like under this blanket. And because we live under this blanket, we are free. And it's like, no, you're not, because you can't even see the sun. The best way to exist is exist under this cover, under this like layer of darkness. And that's the only way to be free. In reality, freedom comes from living a life and being able to let go, not being able to live forever. And sometimes I feel like this is crazy, but being Black is being forgotten. Being untied to that fakeness, being untied to that one sound, that one mind, being off the trail will often get you forgotten, even though people will take bits and pieces of it and they will try to they'll try to take that and make it a part of what they have, but it wasn't meant for that. And I feel like that kind of is one of the overarching themes of the whole story, that being one with the oppressor, because we literally see how Remick targets anybody. He will target KKK members, he will target Asian people, he will target Black people. He doesn't care. He just wants added power, added knowledge, just like these things added to him. But what he doesn't realize is that by making them add to like his pot, this assimilation, this core piece, you're taking away from what it was originally for. Remick kind of represents a form of assimilation. I feel like also historically, like the Irish people and Italian people, I believe they weren't considered white people at first, but they have that privilege to kind of be able to be like, oh, I'm white, just like Mary. So even though I feel like to a certain extent, like Remick didn't feel like, especially like in the historical times, he didn't feel like that he could be a part of Because what we end up seeing is that he has this group of people around him, and he begins to kind of display his Irish culture, his Irish background with, Michael B. Jordan, or Michael C. Jordan, aka Stack, and Mary, and Cornbread, which, like, we'll get into Cornbread too, because that scene with Cornbread was scary as shit. He has to express his culture by having, everybody kind of circle around him while he displays his culture. Because, like, I feel like another important thing is that there isn't necessarily a space for him. So in trying to create his own space, he is also, like, disrupting a space that is supposed to be a safe haven for other people. So yeah, that's, like, one of the main themes of the movie, in my opinion. But I also wanted to get into the fact that I feel like, one, I want to dissect the couplings a little bit more. And then two, I feel like there's ultimately three endings to this movie. Like, I feel like there are three main chunks that kind of ensure that everything, like, is kind of, like, wrapped up. I feel like I can maybe say four. But overall, one, all of these relationships were karmic. From Stack and Mary, Bo, and Grace, all of them are karmic in one way or another. We have the forbidden relationship, okay? This parallels with one of the endings. Because of the obvious racial tension of the 1930s, there was no way that Stack and Mary would really be able to have a successful life. Think Unthinkable by Alicia Keys. Like, interracial marriages were not giving. They were not of the times back then. So in reality, at the time, like, there was no way that Stack and Mary were going to be together. They were always going to have to be together under the guise of night, under the kind of, like, hidden. They were always going to kind of have to, like, be sneaky links. And I feel like Stack understood that and Mary didn't. And that's part of the reason why she navigated the world the way that she did, is because she's like, I'm partially black, but, like, that doesn't define me. But it's like, no, you have the privilege for being black to not define you. Stack doesn't have that privilege, and he has to navigate the world in a way that's a lot different from you. And I think that is why Stack thought that he should get her a white man so that she could live a white life, because he thought that that would be best for her. Mary, on the other hand, did not want to be white. She did not want a white life. Like she said when Sammy asked her what she was, she said a human being. She wanted to just be able to be a human being. You know what I'm saying? And part of that was being able to be with, because in her eyes, she's like, I just want to be with my childhood friend. You know what I'm saying? My mom, like, partially raised them. They've been around my whole life. I love him. But Stack is like, it's dangerous for her to continue to navigate spaces like this with me. Because if people see her here and then see her in white spaces, she will not continue to be accepted. She'll not be able to navigate these spaces like the same way that someone like Grace does. Grace and Bo and their daughter. So yeah, that's the forbidden couple. And then we have the emotionally shaken couple. Smoke and Annie give me vibes like the loss of their child essentially broke them up, because of the fact that they also, I'm not going to say want different things, but they prioritize different things. Smoke is prioritizing the physical world over the spiritual world, and Annie is prioritizing the spiritual world over the physical world. Part of the reason why she would be willing to take plantation money over regular money, why she wouldn't take Stack's money. Stack, he operates, like, just like how he said, money and power, just like a man. They complemented each other like they were a perfect companionship. If you want to talk about, like, the divine feminine, the divine feminine and the divine masculine, I feel like they quite literally complemented each other in that way. Her being spiritual and soft, and she looked like she smelled good as shit, being a spiritual protector, and him being a physical protector, him being wanting to ensure that they were kind of, like, tied down in the physical world. Him being, like, kind of wanting to be, like, standoffish, him not wanting to, like, express his emotions, but then also at the same time he goes to his woman for comfort. I feel like a lot of these things are indicative of what we believe of the divine masculine and feminine and the compatibility of man and woman, how they kind of like click together like puzzle pieces. I think that Annie and Smoke were like so beautiful for each other. They would have been amazing parents. Like Smoke he would have been staying there dealing with plantation money, baby strapped to his chest. Like, I'm telling you, like, I feel like that shit broke his heart. And that's part of the reason why he had to go to Chicago, because he didn't want to have to continuously like experience that pain. And I feel like being around Annie reminds him of the family that he could have had and like the normalcy that he could have had. And it's heartbreaking. And yeah, Sammy and Pearline. Sammy and Pearline, I kind of got into, but I feel like I would call them the moral breaking relationship. I would call them moral breaking because we have preacher boy Sammy and we have showgirl Pearline. And like I was saying earlier in the episode, the dichotomy between the two of them, I feel like also kind of makes them match together like a puzzle piece, because Sammy, for the most part, is a slave player. He wants to follow his dreams, and his dreams are music, but he plays things relatively safe, especially compared to his cousins, the twins. Pearline, on the other hand, she is risky. She is scandalous. She is beautiful. She sings, she calls attention to herself. And I feel like, especially back then, like being a married woman and like being on stage performing like that and stuff like that, I know that they was looking at her sideways as a motherfucker. So it's like her not caring about that and continuing to want to like press on to her dreams, that obviously motivated Sammy. And even in her death, we see at the end of the movie, he named his band after her. That's how much like seeing her be free and loose despite like anything that she had going on in the rest of her life. Like, I feel like that truly inspired him, and that made him literally want to honor her with his band after she passed away, and kind of saved his life, or tried to, at least. She didn't do a good job. And that bitch is pissing me off when she went and eat the garlic. Anyway, Bo and Grace. And I called them the ride or everybody dies relationship, because as we can see from how Grace quite literally sold everyone out. She sold everyone out. She sold everyone out. And this is when we can start getting into like how the movie ends. We see, like I said, Remick is targeting them via getting, well, they got Cornbread, they got Mary, they got Stack now. Like I said, Stack breaks free. There's a number of them still left, and they begin to try and figure out how they're going to try and fight this. But the overall consensus is that they were going to attempt to wait the night out. Then we see Cornbread comes back, and this is kind of when they start realizing that they're in danger, because Cornbread acting weird as shit. And he's like, invite me in so we can do what we need to do. And they're like, well, what do we need to do? And he's like, being kind to one another. Yeah, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to go because you acting weird as shit. Stack just got killed and you talking about we need to be being kind and shit like that. Nah, get the fuck out of here, boy. So then, he tries to get Smoke or whatever, and he doesn't. Everybody tweaks out for a second. It's cool. It's fine. Whatever. And then we see Bo come back at a point, and he's like, Grace, come on. Like, he's acting like pretty normal, and it just is what it is. He's like, come on. And they're like, no, Grace. And she's like, no, that's my husband. They're like, girl, that's not your husband. Like, he definitely got the fuck guy. He's been gone for a long time. And then Remick begins to tease Grace specifically, which kind of starts to break her. And he mentions that now they all share thoughts. So that means that he knows the location of their daughter. This freaks her out and is ultimately what ends up causing her to betray everyone by letting the fucking vampires in. And that's why I say they are a ride or everybody dies couple, because the way that man was just staring at her outside the window while they were saying, pick poor Robin clean again, and like surrounding the sawmill, and he's staring at her through the window like, pick poor Robin clean. She prioritized being a mother and a wife over like the betterment of everyone, because I feel like the probability that they were actually going to like go and try and get Lisa was somewhat low, considering like when they started targeting them, I just don't believe that like they would not have been able to get Lisa. You know what I'm saying? Lisa would still have to let them in and stuff like that. And yeah, they could have used the bow, but it's kind of like I just don't see them going all the way out there to do all that before kind of like trying to get Sammy, when Sammy was kind of like the target for Remick the whole time. So her letting them in because of the fact that she thought that she was being like a good wife and mother, I'm not trying to hear that. You literally are like, yeah, I'm gonna save my family, damn everybody else, and then was the first person to get smoked when the motherfuckers came in anyway. Like, literally caught yourself on fire. The whole fight scene comes out. Basically, everybody fucking dies except Smoke and Sammy. And Smoke ends up saving Sammy from Remick in the middle of the ocean because Remick was tearing that boy up. But the part that really like plays in my mind and that really like sells one of the main points of the story, and like kind of also sells me on one of the endings, we get to a point where Remick is basically, he got Sammy in his clutches. He's like holding this man back. He's in the water. He's like, I'm about to get you, boy. And Sammy hits him with the "My Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." That nigga said, "Thy kingdom come." Reciting the Lord's Prayer with him in like a demon voice. That shit scared the fuck out of me. I'm not gonna. Then Sammy's like, oh my God, like God is not gonna save me. He's like, oh my God, like God is not gonna save me. I'm actually genuinely fucked right now. And that is when he has the bright idea to smack that boy upside his head with the guitar. And yeah, and then Michael B. Jordan, Smoke finishes him off, and they're basically just like watching everybody burn, and they're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so then Michael C. Jordan, aka Smoke, takes Sammy, like after all the vampires have basically died off because they defeated them with the guitar that I also didn't mention from the beginning, that apparently was like Charlie Pence's guitar, but we come to find out that Stack lied about that, because of course Stack would lie about something like that. And it was actually their father's guitar, but their father's guitar was embedded with a silver disc, which lodged itself in Remick's head and aided in killing them, before Michael C. Jordan did the final blow of the wooden dowel of sorts, the wooden stake or whatever. And with that, basically, like I said, everybody died. So then Smoke gives Sammy the keys to the truck and is like, go home and bury the guitar. And he's like, I can't. It's Charlie Pence's guitar. And Smoke said, who the fuck told you that? Sammy said, Stack. He said, that nigga's a damn liar. That's our daddy guitar. The father that they killed, apparently. Back to the beginning of the movie, like the first scene where we see him go home and walk into his father's all-white church house where everybody's like wearing white and his father is preaching and his mother is like in shock and it's like, Sammy. And his father takes that moment to be like, sit down, woman, to his wife, and uses his son to then testify in front of the entire congregation on how he should let blues music go, because that's obviously what has him fucked up right now. And this scene hurts because it feels like my parents never did this because they're sane, but it feels like when like people, well, also my parents have never been like a pastor or anything, but like when a pastor or something will use their kids like personal, very recent business, like to preach to their congregation. And it's like, I'm not the martyr for your life lessons, dude. Like, you can't just like put my fucking business out because you want to have a good sermon. And that's like the exact vibes that I got from this, and I didn't like it. And we also see, as Sammy's dad is talking, we get flashes of Remick and he's telling him to put the guitar down, Sammy. and give up blues music because it obviously has you being chased by the devil and the philanderers and the sacrament. And Sammy chooses to leave, which I feel like is beautiful because I shouldn't have to give up what literally saved me in my darkest of times in order to come to God. God should be able to take me with that. You know what I'm saying? So good for fucking you, Sammy. Leave. So we see Sammy leave, right? Then we flash back to see what the fuck is going on with Smoke, right? Smoke started, like, when Sammy left, he started getting ready for war, basically, because we come to find out that like in the middle of the night when all this stuff was happening, we come to find out that Bert is Hogsworth's nephew. Hogsworth is the clan member from the beginning. The clan individual from the beginning that sold them the sawmill. They only sold them the sawmill because they was planning on coming to kill everybody anyway. Come to find out. So he get the trunk. Michael C. Jordan, aka Smoke, get the trunk. And he basically sets up for them. He's like, yeah, I'm about to smoke you niggas. And smoke him he does. This nigga had snipers, grenades, all types of shit. Apparently they was working for Capone when they was in Chicago. So they got all types of shit in this fucking trunk. He's sniping these niggas. Pow, 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 pow. Grenade in the car. All that shit. Right? One of them ends up hitting them like while they driving away after he threw like a grenade at him or whatever. Like they end up getting him in the joint. Right? Then he come up to Hogsworth. He's like, you gotta smoke. Which is crazy because how does Smoke not know how to roll a cigarette? Stack always rolled them for him. So we see him struggling to roll a cigarette after like the day's all done. And then he literally, after murking all these KKK members, gonna ask Hogsworth, you got a cigarette? Then that man deadass said, fuck you. And that man deadass said, fuck you. Which is crazy. This man is holding a gun and standing above you. And you literally can't drop the racism for a second. He then gives him a cigarette or whatever. He starts hitting the cigarette and then the gunshot wound finally kind of hits him. He's like, damn. He starts getting woozy. He falls down. And this is ending number 2. Ending number 1 was like, you know, the whole thing with Sammy going back to the church. Ending number 2 would be this. He begins to see Annie. And she looks beautiful. She's wearing all white. She has a baby in her arms. And she goes, you put that cigarette out, you can hold her. And he's like looking at her. And she literally says, I don't want to get no smoke on the baby. And I feel like a lot of people didn't dissect that as much as they needed to. Smoke and Stack are not their biological names. Their biological names are Elijah and Elias. And those names have very, very like hardcore biblical names. But essentially what I feel like she was saying was, I don't want to get no smoke on the baby kind of means I don't want to get your earthly ways on the baby. I don't want to get and then we also hear the white man like interrupt this like prophetic dream to offer him money to allow him to live. And Smoke finishes him off with a little bit of overkill and then puts his cigarette out and attempts to hold his child. And I think that is him accepting the afterlife that Annie wanted, because she didn't want to be turned into a vampire. She wanted to see their child. She didn't want to live forever. She didn't want her spirit to get stuck here in this world, because she knew that wasn't what it was made for. She wanted to be let go. So she made sure that once she got bit, that he made sure that she got let go so that they could be together, because she knew that he would be protected from the mojo bag. And you know, like, I don't know, that was just like one of the, like, it was really beautiful to see the prospect of a second opportunity for them, to be able to have their child. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting like the movie to end like that the first time I saw it. I was in the theater fucking bawling at her wearing that white with the baby. Like, it actually had me, like, that shit tore me up, y'all. But yeah, and then our third and final ending, which is a post-credit scene. I always low-key love a post-credit scene. Like, I don't know why. I feel like it makes sure that people watches, like, who contributed to, like, the craft that they just experienced. But yeah, in the post-credit scene, we see a old man in the 1990s who is playing blues for a crowd in a nightclub, and it kind of has modern club vibes to it, but also still the vibe of the juke joint. And we see him playing a song or whatever. He wraps his night. He's at the bar, and his bodyguard comes in. He said, "Hey, there's two people outside. They're saying they got like $200. They just want to, like, they know that we were close to close, but they just want to get like one last drink." He's like, "Yeah, let them in." In walks motherfucking Stack and Mary. Now Sammy's like, "He didn't kill you." He said, "I guess I'm just the one motherfucker he couldn't kill." Oh, brother, this guy stayed. Now I'm pissed because the older responsible protector, of course, could not kill the first person he ever had to protect. But he made him promise to stay away from Sammy. And he only came now because he can literally smell that Sammy is at the end of his life. And so he asked Sammy to play for him one more time because he doesn't like this new electronic shit. He likes records and he likes the real. And so we see Sammy, who is like now probably like 90 years old or something like that, start playing Traveling, which is the song that he sung for, oh God, I'm about to cry. The song that he sung for Stack in the car when they went to go pick up Delta Slim and Cornbread. So that is the end of like kind of my analysis on Sinners. That movie was, God, why am I getting emotional? Like, I wrote this bitch. It was such a good movie. It really like opened my eyes. Like, I don't know. First of all, we gotta stop inviting white people to the cookout because that's how we get fucked up. Inviting white people to the cookout. And I feel like we also need good black films. We need more good black films that aren't directly about slavery and segregation and racism, but highlights our culture and our inability to connect with each other. Like, we need Ryan Coogler, you literally are. Let me rave about him for a second. I wasn't familiar with his game before Sinners. I'm about to start getting real familiar with his game because everything I hear from that man is great. He loves his wife. He make good movie. Hire black people. Encourages other people to hire black people. I can't, like, everything I've seen of him is positive. I don't have nothing to say bad about Mr. Ryan Coogler at all. I feel like he did a beautiful job selecting all of the actors and actresses. I feel like they all encapsulated exactly what they were supposed to encapsulate. And I think to end this podcast episode off, I know y'all can see how I gradually just got like sleepier and sleepier, and I'm like laid up in the couch right now. But my last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rate the attractiveness of all of the characters, all of like the main characters. I listed them right here so that I can have a thorough list to make sure that I get everybody. So on the list, this is not in any specific order yet. I got Sammy Cornbread, Smoke and Stack, Mary and Annie, Grace and Bo. And then I added Delta Slim for fun. Now, oh, and Pearline. Oh my God, and Pearline. Let's really think about this. So first of all, I am a pansexual person that typically likes black people first. With that being said, on a scale of attractiveness, I think the first person I have to put is Annie. She was just too damn bad. She was just too damn bad. I liked her costume design. I liked her hair. She bad as shit. Then after, I think I'll have to put... Okay, I feel like Annie and Pearline can both come in 1 and 2 because, like, I don't know, they were just eating too bad, and Yeah, but like I can't really decide who would be one and who would be two. So I think I'm going to just, yeah. And then I'm going to put Sammy because Sammy a eater. If you know, you know. And then I'm going to put Smoke because, like I said, he gives responsible daddy, but he also gives that he'll blow your fucking back out. Then I'll put Stack because Stack gives me sub, but he's equally as attractive, but maybe a little bit less just because of the fact that I don't like irresponsible men like that as a Capricorn woman. Correction, hold on. I'm going to take Stack off of number 5 and I'm putting Bo and then Stack and then Grace. I think. So Annie, Perline, Sammy, Smoke, Bo, Stack, Grace. And then I'll put Cornbread because he big as hell. And I love me a big brawly man. I'll put Cornbread. And then Annie, Pearlie, and Sammy Smoke, Bo Stack, Grace, Cornbread. And then I think that just leaves Delta Slim. So I guess Delta Slim will have to be my number 9. But I mean, he a little too old for me anyway. Sorry, Del Rolando. He is an attractive man. He's just a little too old for me. Like, yeah. But that has been my review of Sinners. I'm tired. I need a nap. I had to stop this video like 4 times because I was coughing and my throat hurts. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm supposed to be filming something else today, which is crazy. I bought the Apple hat. I bought the Apple hat. I bought the Apple hat back because I haven't had it on since like episode 1, and I don't never have a retwist. I'm tired of doing my own hair. It hurts myself. That's all I have for you guys. I hope you enjoyed my analysis and coffee perspective on Sinners, the 2025 movie written and directed by Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler and Mrs. Coogler. If you ever need a third, let me know. Miss Coogler, you can DM me at Venus Zaire, or you could DM the podcast's Instagram at The Coffee Table. The podcast has a TikTok at The Coffee Table Podcast. Yeah, like just let me know.